Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Episode 2. You can see it now, episode 2. We're calling this season 1. Season 1, episode 2 of The Informed Idiots is coming to you live. We've got a great one for you guys today. As you can see, we've stepped our game up a little bit. We've got some information for you. Today's episode, we're going to do our season award predictions. Right, We're going to talk about week 1 and kind of what we're watching for in this week in the NFL. Before we get going, Yvonne, is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't have in our prep notes?
Real quick before we forget, I kind of wanted to do this maybe towards the end. But now that I got the open mic, I might as well. Huge shout out to, there's no hiding that we are Chiefs fans. Look at your background, look at my background. Come on. But huge shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs for what they did with Clyde Edwards-Helaire today. Just a huge shout out. I know they put them on that list, and normally whenever people do put teams or players in that list, they don't normally get paid, and Chiefs are actually paying them. So they're like, don't worry about not getting a paycheck. Worry about your mentals. We'll take care of your chickens. In words of Marshawn Lynch, we'll take care of your chickens. You take care of your mentals.
So no, and I think for people who don't know, the NFI, the non-football injury list, is the list that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was put on today. Typically, that list is used for players that may be playing basketball in the off season and they have a high ankle sprain or below an ACL or an injury of that sort. So typically, to Yvonne's point, they're not guaranteed their money because usually if you're on this list, you did something non-football related, non-training related. But yeah, man, look into the story of Clyde Edwards-Helaire if you're not fully aware of what's going on with him. I read more up on it after we talked about him a little bit, I think, last week. And the more details I got, the more I was shocked by how little I actually knew. And man, shout out to him. I can only imagine what going through that does to you moving forward, especially after the Super Bowl parade. But we're a mental health awareness, mental health first podcast here, first and foremost. Take your medicines. Talk to your therapist, seek out help if you need it, and
take care of your mentals. Take care of your mentals
stance as well. So let's move on now, and I guess we'll start with 2024 predictions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're gonna start off with talking about the MVP, and I'll go ahead and run it. But on this podcast, we are always going to represent Kansas City. It is our hometown. But we pride ourselves on being football guys, not just Chiefs fans.
We just happen to be in Kansas City.
I like to be as real as possible. If you don't know the history of us, I turned 40 this year. So for more of my life than not, the Chiefs have not been a great football team, especially in the real formative years of my life. We had a pretty rough stretch there. So I've kind of fallen in love with the league in general because when my team wasn't doing well, I wanted to cheer for a guy on this team and cheer that team on. So we try and have a pretty good view of the league at large. But as you can see, this season, both of us are in agreement. I think with most people who talk football, Patrick Mahomes is our pick for the MVP this year. This man is the king. He's like Jordan, where he will find a reason to become motivated. Give him real reasons to be motivated.
And you don't have to go. Obviously, I think he's going to have a very good year. Obviously, after what we did last year, or after what we did last night. No, to my point, I drafted him first in every single one of my fantasy leagues, including the one last night, which was I was first overall. And
we had 1-1 and 1-2 in our fantasy football league.
Yeah.
Our what we call our home fantasy football league
Yeah,
with
like the
Yvonne.
main one that I feel like we
And we had a
take
lot of
care of.
fun last night. He took Mahomes 1-1. I took
Yep.
Breece Hall 1-2.
Yeah.
If you enjoy fantasy and you want to win, but that was the most fun we've had in that league in a long time. Chaos
Oh yeah.
reigned supreme. That draft was just all over the place from pick one.
And yeah, and
But
right
it
off
makes
the
sense
bat
to me.
too.
Like,
I mean,
I can't. This is one of those years where I'm like, I even said it. I normally don't draft a quarterback until like round 8 or 9. Had you not taken Pat at 1-1, I probably would have seriously. I don't know that I would have done it because I would have taken him in the second round, but in our league, he wouldn't have been there.
there's no way
Wouldn't
exactly
have made a
like
bad pick.
there's
Wouldn't have
no
made a
way
bad
he would have been there, and I knew that, especially drafting number 1. There's no way he would have been at the very end of round 2. There's no way he would have been still there. So I had to do it. But I think just like I was telling my brother, whenever I did make it in his league, he called me right away, like, bro, like, what are you doing? I thought you knew how to draft. And I told him, I was like, bro, like, listen, with his years with Tyreek Hill, he had his best fantasy season. Now you done gave this man 3 of the best wide receivers he's ever played with. Not just 1, not just 2. You just done gave this man 3 of the best wide receivers he's ever played with. So, and then there's still the Travis Kelce. So there's just, I very much feel like he's going to have either 5,000 yards or 50 touchdowns, maybe both. But
Yeah,
as you can see, for sure, getting the MVP.
I think for me, being serious about the subject, when you look at the structure of the offense at this point, the growth patterns of most of the players to this point, like, we have so much young talent on this team that has been in the system for a long time. That's one of the things that I kind of came away from. It's like Carson Steele, Samaje Perine. Okay, those are the 2 new faces. They're the backup running backs, right? I feel more than confident they're going to pick up their roles pretty quickly. Outside of that, it's like Hollywood and Xavier. Those are the only new faces, and let's talk about JuJu real quick. I know we were going to save that to talk about it later, but like Yvonne's opinion is he doesn't really see why we did it, right? What the value is.
I don't see the point of it.
So
if you're trying to hit, if you're trying to bring it, I really don't see the point of it. If your only point that I know our friend Josh, who was one of our other idiots, but the point that he's making is that he brings
friend of the pod.
Huh?
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So yeah, the point that he's bringing is that he brings like the veteran aspect in the locker room. But just like I keep saying, I mean, I looked up his playoff stats, bro. Rashid Rice almost has just as many yards in 1 year as he does in 4 years in the playoffs. He's only been, I believe, 4 games in the playoffs, or 4 years in the playoffs. So that's what I'm saying, and the majority of the experience that he does have in the playoffs, we gave him. So when you have Travis, when you have Patrick, when you have Chris Jones in that locker room, I don't see there being a lack of veteran presence. Now, if we were a team like Chicago, Houston, teams like that who are young, up and coming, and you can tell that they're going to be really well. If they bring a veteran presence, oh yes, because for the most part they have a lot of rookies, they have a lot of young people, especially Chicago. So I can see a team like that bringing a veteran presence. But dude, this is our 3rd Super Bowl. I don't necessarily think we need a veteran presence per se.
So I think I hear what you're saying. I just think you're kind of combining 2 different thoughts, right? So there's veteran presence, which as you just explained, like we have plenty of veterans that are on this team, but what, like, to my point with veteran experience is, has Chris Jones ever played for anybody not named Kansas City? Has Travis Kelce? Has Patrick Mahomes? Has Rashee Rice? So like there is at like
I don't
this
see
isn't
that.
a perfect comparison, right? But like if you know somebody that is a waiter and you take them to a totally different restaurant and you say, why aren't you doing good at this job? It's because they've never worked in a different environment outside of that restaurant. You're an incredible server, but you have to learn how those people do it. And that to me is the separator in what you're kind of not picking up on that I'm giving more.
And I would get that
as far as experience. Like nobody on that roster has played with multiple Hall of Fame quarterbacks. JuJu Smith-Schuster has. Like that's
okay. He's played with two, and
right. But the point is that more than one? Is that more experience?
Yeah, I understand, but okay, but we don't have.
Also,
it's
the last point
I just don't see the need of it. I just don't.
I get where you're coming from. The last point that I will make is this. 2 years ago when he was on our team, he was outside of Travis Kelce. He was the number one wide receiver.
I agree.
Before he left last year, everybody in Kansas City wanted him to stay. We were just worried about the knee because the Chiefs kept pumping that out to the media that the knee was the issue. He still had enough in him to convince a team, albeit New England wasn't good, but he convinced a team to give him a fat contract. So we're taking the benefits of that. And he's come. And again, it's like JuJu's going to walk into that locker room and those rookies are going to look at him and he has a presence in the locker room, right? Justin Watson doesn't get the same respect that a JuJu Smith-Schuster will from a Xavier Worthy. That's just my opinion. And what I see that JuJu had that nobody else has had besides Patrick is the ability to do the things, the small things, the minute details in a route that Patrick wants. And so I don't think JuJu is going to be that huge of an impact on the field. But I think if we see our young wide receivers accelerate in their growth and their development, if we see Sky Moore take a step this year, step and a half, that to me is more of like, that's the impact that I'm looking from a JuJu Smith-Schuster. Nothing that I expect from him really to help this team is determined on the field. It's if he doesn't see the field, that's honestly him doing his job. He's not coming here to be the number one or number two receiver. He's coming here to be competent, right? Like last year, we didn't want the third, the fourth, the fifth wide receiver. We hardly wanted the number two wide receiver out on the field catching the ball. This year, we have three guys already that are there. So if the impact that he provides is just in helping those guys understand how the offense works, that is a win. There is something to be said for a guy who's doing your job, teaching you how to do it because he's gone through it versus learning from your coach. And a guy who's played for, again, I know you don't give it a lot of credit, but like he played with Ben, he played next to Antonio Brown. He won a Super Bowl when he was here, and he was a contributing factor to that. Like that buys you credibility in the locker room.
I mean, barely for a year.
Brett Veach wouldn't bring that guy back for no reason. So
that's exactly like, obviously, clearly, I don't see the value, but the Chiefs clearly do see a value. And we're about to find out. To me, it's a waste, even if you don't have him on the field, which he got 200 yards in the fucking touchdown last year. Pardon my language. So to me, he's done. He got dropped from the worst wide receiver group I feel like there is in the NFL. They pretty much told him you're not good enough. So
no,
I don't really understand.
Is no longer coaching there. That's what it was. He played behind a terrible offense who was injured with an injured offensive line and with an uninspiring quarterback. So like to me, like don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not saying he's coming here to do a lot. But let's wrap this back around to the point.
I was going to say you're already at everything you mentioned. I feel like you're asking him to do way more than what he's going to do. I feel like he's just signed here to get another ring. That's about it. Training the rookies and anything, all that everybody's going to do. Maybe he does one or two, but if he maybe steps up Sky Moore one. Who gives a fuck? Like, I'm sorry. Both of them are going to be gone next year anyways.
I mean, we say that, right? But who knows? Like, there was a guy named, and I'm not saying that he's going to be on this path, but Devontae Adams' first couple of years in the league with Aaron Rodgers were not good until he figured it out. And he had a veteran like Jordy Nelson there.
Okay,
right?
bro.
And again,
Jordy Nelson figured it out right away. I'm sorry.
The
I'm
reason
not giving
Randall
you that
Cobb's
one.
career has gone on for so long, when a quarterback falls in love with you and trusts you, you will have a job in the league.
I mean,
so that's more of what I see the JuJu thing.
Just to wrap it up real quick with JuJu, over and under, what he better stats than what he did last year, or worse stats? I think it was 260 and a touchdown last year.
Better, yeah. I think he's probably 350, 360 yards, couple tutties. But again, if he doesn't, our
first board bet,
if he doesn't hit the over, that's not me losing, dude. Like, if he doesn't touch the field, I win. Like, because again, I don't want him to actually. I don't think they're bringing him to Kansas City to actually be on the field as like a starter or the number 3.
Okay, that makes no sense. But okay, whatever.
I mean, it makes total sense.
I guess to you,
I want a guy with actual experience. That's what I want. I want a real wide receiver who has shown that he actually knows how to play wide receiver in the league in general.
Yeah, sure. Even though he doesn't step the field.
Mahomes combined, like, look, we've derailed this conversation by talking about the 5th wide receiver on this team. If we're having this big of a debate on the 5th wide receiver, this is why we both think he's going to win the MVP this year. Because we're bickering about the 5 wide receiver. 1, 2, 3, and the number 1 tight end and the number 1 running back with a solid offensive line, with a rookie left tackle who looks like he's actually worth a damn in the league. Like, everything seems to be lined up. If you listen to The Athletic like I do, hopefully I run into the guys. They're doing a live broadcast on Thursday before the Chiefs game that I'm going to go to.
Shout out to The Athletic.
And, shout out to Robert Mays and The Athletic. But they do, they were doing their preview of the Chiefs, and they do a bit where it's like, what kept you up at night? And literally both of them were like, general luck is what I'm worried about. Like, I'm not worried. Like, the offense is fine. The defense is fine. The coaching is fine. The weapons are fine. Everything is good. It's like, I hope somebody doesn't get into a car accident. Like, that's what's going to derail the Chiefs season, outside of one of the big guys, like the things that will derail any team season: quarterback injury, big defensive player injury. But like, all things being considered, if everything just holds to form, he should win the MVP, and this team should be in the Super Bowl, if not taking home the 3rd trophy.
Very much agree.
The next award we'll talk about, Coach of the Year. This was another really fun one to do. D'Amico Ryans was my pick.
Go ahead and talk about it.
I would like D'Amico Ryans is my pick that I think will be most likely to win it, because everybody is talking about Houston, and as long as Houston makes it to the playoffs and doesn't, crap the bed throughout the season, all they need is a healthy Derek Stingley and the defense to be middle of the pack, and it's going to be hard for anybody to overcome the narrative already, right? Like, everybody loves CJ Stroud, the Stephon Diggs trade. Like, there's lots of pomp and circumstance that has brought eyes to that. My dark horse would be Mike McDonald in Seattle. If you listen to episode 1, you know why I love Seattle and their coaching staff. But to me, that's kind of like, I would like to pick him as my most likely, but I think that it's probably going to be D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah, no, that's honestly not a bad pick. The only reason why I didn't go with D'Amico is because I feel like everybody's pretty much expecting him to do well, and to me, whenever they get Coach of the Years, whenever people don't necessarily expect them to do well. And I guess that's kind of the same case with Jim, good old Jimmy Harbaugh here. I feel like not necessarily everybody thinks he's going to do well, but everybody doesn't really expect them to do well. Everybody is pretty much it, kind of wondering what's going on. What's he gonna do? He's a very intriguing character. So I'm one of those people. I'm the people. I mean, that's kind of wondering what the hell he's gonna do with the Chargers. He's turned around both of the programs that he's been at. I don't necessarily think he's going to turn around like he has with the other two programs, but just to see them do better, a little bit more competition in this division would be nice, honestly. And if it's going to come from anybody, I would like to see it from the Chargers in this division, I guess, in our division.
Yeah, if a team in our division has to be good, I would much rather it be the Chargers than the other two. That's for sure. I think I don't dislike your pick of Harbaugh. It's just I don't think that I think he may be the most deserving at the end of the year for the award. I don't think the team is going to have enough results for media in general to reward him. I think it's too much of a story narrative kind of driven thing where it's kind of like MVP, like it's always a quarterback, even though the most valuable player on a team last year was Tyreek Hill. Like there's zero
I don't
argument
know.
that you can make.
CMC
If Tyreek Hill isn't on that team, they're not a playoff team.
CMC
right? Like,
isn't on that team, and they're not a playoff team.
They were before. They went to the Super Bowl without him, bro. Like your argument's null and void. They went to the Super Bowl
that's
without
true.
him.
But
okay? He plays for the best team in football.
But I was saying
the
last
Dolphins
year
are not anywhere near the best team in football. The Dolphins don't even have a good defense. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Tyreek Hill had Tyreek Hill continued to doing what he was doing throughout the regular season.
Hip drop tackled in week 14 or 15, he probably goes for 2,000 yards.
No, I agree. But had he not,
again, the store, like we all know he had to hit 2,000 yards to win it, even though we can all say he was probably more deserving of the MVP, or at least just as Lamar Jackson, right? But like, it's hard to quarterback's so important.
Yeah,
it's just the same thing with this. Like, the best coach every year isn't actually going to win this. It's a really good coaching job along with some positive success for the team. This next one is really fun. Rookie of the year, we just did offense. To me, I'm going chalk, but Caleb. I mean, I wasn't that big of a Caleb guy coming into the year. I wouldn't call myself a hater, but it was very much like, let's pump the brakes. Let's stop pouring so much gas on this fire. Like, don't get me wrong, he's good, but everybody, it's like he's the next Mahomes. He's got Mahomes traits. And then I started watching some of his college ball and then even with just the limited stuff you see in the preseason, it's like, okay, I see where people were at with this. And for me, this is as close to like the perfect situation that you can land in as a number one overall quarterback. Your team actually wasn't supposed to have the number one overall pick. You just happened to get it, right? And the team goes out and stocks up. And for the last couple of years, we've been like, man, if Justin Fields can just play like, I don't know, bad football and not terrible football, they'll fight for the playoffs. Like, they'll be right there with the Vikings and Green Bay. And a little bit of consistency with coaching. I think this defense is primed to play really well. I love Jalen Johnson. That was kind of my dark horse. I hope he didn't stay in Chicago because I'm like, man, people just aren't talking about him enough. Hopefully his price tag stays down. And like, that was the guy I wanted them to replace Snead with. He stayed in Chicago and, just a wealth of tools for him out there. Keenan, Rome, DJ Moore, their X, Y, and Z receivers are set. And Cole Kmet, I think, is slightly above average as a tight end who, with a really good quarterback, that's all you really need to be a successful tight end in the league.
Yeah,
But yeah, my pick for the year, Caleb
Chicago
Williams.
really definitely did a really good job of setting up Caleb. But I mean, I haven't seen Chicago this excited about a quarterback since Justin Fields. So, we'll see. I'm not just like you. I'm not I'm not a huge fan of Caleb. I think um, I think I'm still in that boat that you were. Not necessarily a hater, but I still very much think we need to pump the brakes. I think he's going to be good, but there's still a lot of things that I want to see for Caleb. Or I guess I still want to see a lot of things for me to be like, okay,
You're much more of a show me it before I go off the
we
vibes.
live in the show me state, baby. We live in the show me state.
I'm trusting my gut a little bit, and I'll see I'll vibe some of this stuff out and rock with it.
Well, and like just even like I saw him play his first year whenever he won the Heisman, he did incredible. Second year, not so much. Some of the stuff that he did on the field to me is kind of questionable whether he's going to make it in the NFL or not. So I want to see it before I crown him. So I very much think Marvin Harrison, who is a wide receiver, is going to ball out because everything that man does is just great. That dude has been balling out since he probably came out the womb. So it's just I think I'm actually kind of surprised that not a lot of people are talking about it, but I do think Marvin Harrison is going to be this year's rookie of the year. I mean, fully healthy Murray is, and now you give him probably the best wide receiver that he's had. I mean, whenever he got a hold of Hop, he was a little bit up there. Now he's getting a rookie Hop pretty much. So who catches everything? This dude's got glue in his hands. What do we got? What do we got here?
I haven't watched enough of Marvin to have a real solid grip of his athletic profile, but I feel like
dude's a baller.
I've come away feeling like he's quicker than he is fast, but his body type, like it feels like he always knows how to be open and get open.
Yeah, that dude is a baller. Like
it's just the tale is all the time. Like guys who know how to get open, like he just knows how to get open.
Yep. So I very much think he's going to take the Rookie of the Year award, offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, those are our picks. Put those down on the board as well. So next thing we're going to do is exactly what we've got up here. We're going to go with Offensive Player of the Year. So before I run the ticker, we said it earlier, the guy that I drafted with the second overall pick is my pick for Offensive Player of the Year this year. I am a Jets fan, apparently, and I did not realize it, but Breece Hall is my pick for this year's Offensive Player of the Year. A full year removed from the injury. He played incredible last year in kind of a slow roll back. And guys normally don't come back to exactly what they're going to be that quickly from an ACL tear. I think we've seen at this point, 10, 15 years ago, I was much more worried about a guy's long-term career after an ACL or MCL tear. Now it's like, was it like a terrible one? Was it everything? Like, did the knee flex terribly backwards? If not, I'm pretty confident that most of those players are going to come back and be fine, especially that next year removed. And with the weapons that they have there, even if Mike Williams is injured half the year, when he's on the field with Garrett Wilson, that is the scariest set of pass catchers the Jets have ever had since Breece Hall has been there. Mm-hmm. And oh, by the way, they're going to have a healthy Aaron Rodgers, fingers crossed, right? Like that to me is where is really what sets it apart. Combination of a quarterback who's needed. I mean, I hate to keep saying this, but like bad and not terrible quarterback play, and he probably is a much more known name. But yeah, I've got huge belief, kind of the same thing as the Chiefs. As long as this team stays healthy, this team is going to be an absolute problem in the AFC this year. Yvonne?
Yeah, no, I mean, Bryce Hall is definitely. I very much agree with you there. I think Bryce Hall is fully healthy is going to be, dude, just a fucking baller. But to me, obviously, most of this awards go to a quarterback. CJ Stroud to me is going to continue balling out, and therefore I feel like we're just getting ready to watch some of the best football that we've seen in a while. At least I'm excited for Caleb Williamson, Kyler Murray,
Williams.
Williams, yeah. Patrick with three incredible.
There's a gang of young, like it feels like all of a sudden I looked at the league and it's like, whoa, there's like 9 or 11 young quarterbacks that look like they're going to be
be here for a while for sure.
Like, the level of play at quarterback feels like it's getting higher.
Yeah.
And
obviously,
I love CJ.
And CJ Stroud is just. I feel like it's just going to take. Not only I feel like he took a level last year that not a lot of people have seen. A lot of people have him probably or are maybe expecting to see a sophomore slump, but I don't necessarily see it. I hope not. I feel like he's going to take another step up. Therefore, give him the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, and again,
another reason why I don't think DeMarco is getting the rookie, the Coach of the Year is because I feel like some of the awards are already going to go towards Houston way.
Yeah, no, and see, I get that. I could see it going the opposite direction where it's like, well, if your quarterback was the Player of the Year and your defense outperformed expectation, then how do we?
Right, that's what I'm saying. You mean so? But real quick, what do we have here, Nate? What are we looking at?
Okay, so I just pulled up the FanDuel.com just so that everybody following along, you guys can see the odds of what FanDuel has to kind of compare who we're picking versus who they're saying is actually going to be there. And FanDuel has Reek, Christian McCaffrey, CD, Jamar, Justin, and Bijan. So neither one of our picks is even listed there. But
so if you wanted to make some money,
I don't feel bad about my picks. I feel like both those guys have a real path to winning. I love CJ. Yeah. We actually got into an argument yesterday because I put CJ. So my tiering system for quarterbacks is tier 0, tier X is Mahomes by himself. Just don't even include him in the chart. He's just above it. The first tier outside of Mahomes, I think, is Josh Allen. And then, in my opinion, I think there's a gap between the next group. I could listen to you, want to put, like a Lamar, a Burrow, a small handful, maybe 3 or 4 guys that have kind of separated away from that, but I don't include them in the Josh Allen or the Mahomes tier quite yet. But that next group, quarterbacks 4 through like 9, I think there's probably like 8 quarterbacks for those 5 spots. It just is like, how do you feel and how do you quantify what you like in quarterback play? Mm-hmm. To me, CJ is in that discussion. To you, kind of the point I made earlier, you want to see a little bit more of it. You believe in it, but you're not like at the end of this year, he'll be in that tier for you.
Yeah.
To start the year for me, I already have him in that tier. That's really the only difference with CJ. But we'll move on now to, I think the next one we have as well is the same as on the screen. Defensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm. And I think we both pretty much agree with the same one here.
Yeah, this one makes too much sense to me. Micah Parsons, like I put at the bottom, I just honestly, if he has the production that he's had his whole career, I think it's just going to be hard to not include him in that. I think the big thing that will help him this year is with a new defensive coordinator and the, kind of the storylines around them. They're Cowboys. They're going to be talked about all year long. If Dak plays like Dak plays, the Cowboys are going to be mentioned every week on every sports show. And Micah is going to be one of the guys who we see highlights of. I think it's just kind of a layup for him to get there. I do love like Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, TJ, like all those guys that are on the list. If I had to pick a second, I think like I honestly, and I hate to say this, but like I would like Max Crosby to win it because like
that wouldn't be a bad one. That's a dark horse right there.
I'm not a huge like Raider hater like some Chiefs fans. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't like the Raiders, but I don't hate them.
Right.
And Max Crosby, to me, that like I want guys like that to win awards. I want guys with those sorts of turnaround stories, and just like he doesn't come off the field. He plays at 1,000% effort all the time. And, if you earn Mahomes' respect, then you kind of get mine too. And just to see the battles that those guys have had throughout their careers. And he's just really, really good. I think he's got the best shot he'll probably ever have because the offense isn't going to be very good. So he'll be on the field a lot. The only problem is the offense needs to be at least competent so that he faces some passing downs. That would be the only thing that would keep him down.
He's got good old Gardner now, so we'll see.
He's got Christian Wilkins playing next to him, so like he should have his easiest year of rushing the passer.
Yeah, I forgot about
so
that.
Maybe that unlocks him and keeps his sack numbers high, but that's really the only thing that would keep me from believing in Max Crosby as much as I believe in Micah. The rest of the guys are just if the Steelers make the playoffs and Watt does Watt stuff, he's in the conversation.
That's who would have been my second pick is Watt, but actually, and just real quick, I don't know if you guys realize or even know, but I happened to pick the right one last year. I went for Garrett last year, and ding, he got picked. But anyways, that was just a little quick little pat on the back for me. But no, I think
on the
back. But no, yeah, I think Micah, just like you said, I think it's he's due. Like the shit that he did last year was incredible, but it was kind of a little shadowed by, Garrett. What he did was that dude.
Well, the story for Cleveland last year too was
and exactly right. So that was right, and I think
that's solved.
Right, and I don't necessarily think that's going to happen again this year. So it kind of opens the door for Micah. And Micah, listen, that dude balls out game in, game out. So he's going to ball out. All he's got to do is make sure that he balls out consistently, because towards the end, he did kind of, start to decline. But there was also like, it's kind of hard too when you're a defensive player and, they know that all we got to do is run away from him,
he's got DeMarcus Lawrence on that defensive line, but the depth on the line isn't crazy, but like that defense has just been so good. And one of the best things that can happen to a defense is to have a good offense, to put them in favorable positions. And I think the Cowboys offense is still going to be good. I don't think they're going to lead the league and be, quite as good as they were last year, but it wouldn't surprise me if they kept pace. And so kind of the counterpoint to like TJ Watt or Max Crosby is, if your offense is good enough to put you in favorable situations on defense, it makes your life a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
And that was part of what Myles Garrett benefited from, was a more than competent team. teams knew they were going to have to try and chunk down the field. So, the situation was favorable for him. I think that's kind of where, like, if I were to talk about Aiden Hutchinson or Nick Bosa, that's one of the lifts that both of them get, right? Is when you play with a top 5 offense, your defense is playing with a lead and playing against an offense that is a little more desperate and a little more prone to take risk. So you've got opportunities to make more plays. It's kind of like the Chiefs defense last year was the best version of it. But even the couple of years prior to that, we won Super Bowls without the number 1, number 2 defense in the league. Again, when your offense helps you out, it makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah.
So the next one we're going to go to, or did we skip? I think we skipped one. Did I not put it in there?
Which one?
No, I didn't put it in there. Comeback player of the year. Did we both? I think we both made picks on that. Yeah. So, it's chalk again.
Yep. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure we both picked the same one for that one too. That one's kind of a no-brainer, but I mean,
well, what's funny is that even though I knew this in my head, I guess I just didn't process through like Rodgers, Burrow, Cousins all coming back from injury.
Yeah.
And
because, my
I went Rodgers, and I'm going to stick with Rodgers, but it's like, man, the path for Burrow or Cousins to win comeback player of the year is not that difficult, especially Kirk. That's not a great division down there. If he comes back and balls out with Kyle Pitts and Drake London, it could be a real easy year for him to be comeback player of the year. And, honestly,
I think that's another player that you haven't even mentioned yet that could be in play for that.
Who?
Chubb.
But see, the point I made earlier with like catastrophic knee injury, I believe in Nick Chubb, but like I've watched him have some of the most gruesome knee injuries to the same knee.
But that's what I'm saying. If he comes back and balls out, like,
yeah, I think I'm not confident enough in his return at a high enough level to win it, especially again, kind of like we were saying, quarterbacks, it's way easier for them to win these awards.
Mm-hmm.
That's my heart pick. I hope Nick Chubb comes back and is deserving of winning comeback player of the year. Yeah. I hope he is, because for me, that is probably second, third favorite player, like offensive player in the league. I've loved Nick Chubb. I for whatever reason, I remember following Nick Chubb's high school career, because I think there was like, he had like, a 400-yard, 3-touchdown game that came across, one of those high school player, blah, and it was just like, who? And it's like the Georgia running back commit. And then that backfield was just absolutely loaded for like 3 or 4 years that he was there. And it was like Nick Chubb's the starter, and then he'd blow his knee out. And then the next guy to come in would be a top 10 draft pick. Mm-hmm. And it was like the Nick Chubb is the starter, and the guy who was his backup was a bottom half of the first round running. It's like, how good is Nick Chubb if he keeps hurting himself and keeps coming back? So
yeah, no, that dude's incredible. I
hope so.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I think we're all huge fans of good old Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point, we'll kind of do the more fun section of this, right? Who's going to make it, who's not, and which teams from last year's playoffs do we think we're going to fall off this year? Which teams that didn't make it last year do we think are going to find their way in?
Because it happens every year. I mean, it does.
It's just it's the law of averages. It's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the missing it was relatively easy for me. You need competent quarterback play. As much as I believe in Mike Tomlin, like, dude, at some point the other shoe has to drop. I just don't know how long they can keep going. Russell Wilson gives me nothing. Justin Fields, I have no confidence in him after seeing what he did in the preseason, and just the talk that's coming out of there. And then Tampa Bay, I want to believe. I want to believe because I like a ton of the players that are on that team, but it feels like they're on the back half and they're really trying to extend this window that I think is basically already shut. Like, do they make the playoffs again? And is that even good for them? Like, they're not talented enough to contend for the Super Bowl. I don't think they're a top 5 talented team, top 6 talented team in the NFC. And I love Baker. I want Baker to be good, and I want him to ball out this year. I just losing Dave Canales, I think I've put a lot of weight in that. Really good coaching matters, and I think the type of player that Baker is, he's prone to do really well with good coaching. And then the 2 teams that I picked, I keep talking about the Jets and the Seahawks. I feel really confident, really positive about both those teams. I've waxed poetic about both enough, but the defense in New York has proven over and over and over again how good they can be with bad quarterback play. Aaron Rodgers, if he plays like Aaron Rodgers, oh my gosh, this team could be insane.
Yeah.
It could legit be, by week 6, we could be saying this is the most talented team in football. And we look at them above the Chiefs because, man, Rodgers at his peak, we know how good that is. I am a absolute Geno stan. Geno Smith, I think he's insanely talented. I love the pass catchers. I love both the running backs that they have. If the offensive line can come back a little bit and be healthy, and you guys have heard me talk about the coaching staff over there over and over and over again, I just think it is a entire squad of real talented players. They've done the job of getting enough talent on that team. And I think the coaching staff has all the makings to be one of, if not the best coaching staff top to bottom in football. And I think they could really maximize the talents of the guys that are on that team. What say you, Yvonne? What were your picks this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, same with you as far as missing it. I have, first off, making it, I was gonna have the Jets, but that felt like that was like too much of a bottom feed. But I mean, I very much think the Jets are going to make the playoffs too. That's just to me kind of like a no-brainer. But to be making it, I feel like Chicago and Washington are going to be 2. I know they got 2 rookie quarterbacks, but they're going to, kind of dominate the NFL as far as like, wow, everybody, everybody's going to talk about these 2 quarterbacks. Therefore, I mean, doing really good in their division, therefore making the playoffs.
Washington to me is wild. Like that to me is like, that is just, I can't get there with them.
Three teams from that division might make the playoffs.
Well, I mean, if like for me, I have the AFC East potentially could put 3 in with the way that I'm kind of thinking about it.
Yep.
Because I think this will probably end up shaking out in some way where I think the Jets will probably win the division, and then it's going to be a fight between Buffalo and Miami to be the 2 in the division. But if Miami's defense come back and plays well, that could be really, really interesting. They could have the best team in the league that doesn't make the playoffs come out of the AFC East if it's, the battle is that tight. For me, with Washington, it's just I don't see them making it past Philly or Dallas. I don't think.
And see, I just don't have that much high on Dallas this year. So that's why I'm not saying they're going to win their division. I'm just saying they're going to make the playoffs. The Cowboys could very easily miss the playoffs this year, but we'll see. I don't have very high thoughts on them. So
I don't feel like they could easily miss the playoffs. I feel like even though they didn't do a whole lot, like they didn't really need to, right? Like
I don't
They
know.
were right. They were right there, and
They got destroyed by Green Bay. I don't know. I don't want to say they're right there. They still, to me, that team still has a lot more to go, and them not doing anything in the offseason, them playing with CeeDee Lamb's money, them playing with Dak Prescott's money. To me, they didn't do anything but go backwards to me in the offseason. So therefore, I feel like Philly and Washington are going to be better. And as far as missing it, I mean, you've already kind of made my point for Tampa Bay. I love Baker and everything, but I just don't necessarily see it. They kind of had like a luck of the draw last year as far as everything went right for them. I just don't see it happening again. And I know my next one, it kind of goes the same way with Washington. I could have very put Tampa Bay and I could have swapped them out the Cowboys because I feel like Chicago is going to play really well, therefore not making much room for Green Bay. I don't have a lot of high praises or a lot of. I don't necessarily think they're going to do very well this year.
You're definitely counter the majority in how you feel about Green Bay.
About Green Bay, yeah. I mean, listen,
I think one of the guys on the Ringers NFL podcast,
I definitely don't have the popular opinion
had Green Bay's offense as their number one offense in the league coming into the season, and there's a ton of people who are just, I mean, and that's kind of for me, that's where I'm at is like.
Mm-hmm.
I saw what they did last year. I saw what they did against the Chiefs. I know that everybody who I feel is a smart person and is even relatively plugged into the league, they've all been talking about how the defensive coordinator in Green Bay has not been doing any of the players any favors with how he runs the defense. And they bring in a new defensive coordinator who has a clear-cut scheme and is a younger guy who's supposed to be creative and smart. To me, I'm completely the opposite way. Like I feel more confident that they'd make the Super Bowl than they wouldn't make the playoffs altogether. Like,
yeah, see, no, like I said, I know I have the unpopular opinion there, but that's just how I feel. I just don't see them.
Hey, that's why we're doing this. That's why we're doing this right now is get these thoughts out into the world and have the conversation. I
mean, listen, Kyle Brandt did his in GFMFB, shout out GFMFB, but they did their prediction this morning, and a few of them had Green Bay missing the playoffs too. So that's why I was like, see, I'm not the only one. There you go, Kyle.
Right. No, and hey, don't get me wrong, like.
But he was obviously the only one out of four. So
the defense well, it doesn't work out well. The young receivers don't really take a step. Nobody really takes a step forward.
Well, I mean, he's kind of going towards.
It doesn't work the same. Like
he's kind of going towards my point that I'm making is that I feel like Chicago is going to be better in that division, and the Lions are going to be better in that division, and therefore I already have a team in a division making three teams. There's not going to be another one making the playoffs, so I feel like they're going to be.
I don't think
not everybody can make it. 18 teams.
I don't think Chicago's going to be as good as you think Chicago is going to be. I don't think Green Bay is going to be as bad as you expect them to be. I think we basically swapped how we feel in those two teams. You feel like Chicago's more on the upward and Green Bay's down. I don't disagree that Chicago's on the upward, but it's like when you're going from the basement and you go up, you just hit the ground floor. Right. The Packers were on the fifth floor, sixth floor last year. They just need roof access. Well, and I feel like they've done everything they need to like get the key.
We can put this on. We can make this the other board bet if you want. But I think that this year Chicago becomes a partnership in that. Not only, I mean, I feel like Green Bay, how Green Bay owns them or whatever. I feel like they become half partners there, and they split a half game with them.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, I
like
don't think
the ownership is over there. I feel like Green Bay splits one with Chicago this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. So next thing that we have.
All right, let's take a break. Let's pause it now for break.
Take a quick break for these ad sponsors.
Yeah, 55.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're gonna wrap it up here. Just hanging out with my boy LJ one last time.
We miss you.
We're just thinking about good old memories from last year as we get ready for week 1 Thursday NFL.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dude,
So
I cannot fucking wait.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
I cannot wait.
You know, and kind of like I said right there, we've got it at the byline at the bottom, right? That's a painful loss. You know, Mariota catching a touchdown pass, right? The fumble that wasn't a fumble, D Ford offside, right? Darius Toney misalignment, like that shit sticks with you. It stings. It can motivate. It can demotivate. I cannot emphasize how excited I am for this game. I find myself as the consummate Chiefs fan where I am insanely pessimistic. I don't know why, but I'm not scared, but like I'm worried. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
I mean, just because there's a lot of unknowns.
Lamar and Derek to me in the same backfield. Like if people are going like, what's going to change? What are they going to do different? What the Baltimore offense in year 2, like do nothing different. Just having Derrick Henry be the guy that is carrying the football or catching it out of the backfield makes that offense so much better than it's ever been. I don't like, even with him being old, I talked about it, I think last week or the last pod, you know, he led the league in carries last year. But it's kind of, I'm Team Yvonne in this point. I got to see him slow down and not be Derrick Henry before I'm going to believe he's not Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Because like I said last time, I think he's quicker, faster. Like his athleticism is so much greater than what people give him credit for, that even when he loses that top end gear where he's running away from people, he's still going to be Derrick Henry sized. And a slow Derrick Henry is still a fast running back. It's just not Hall of Fame. Like Adrian Peterson was like this same kind of mold to me, right? A one of one who runs really hard, and he lost his athleticism, but it didn't matter. He was still successful for a long time because he could just churn out those yards.
Yeah.
If that's all they get at Derrick Henry, this offense is very scary. And I think we're going to get a much better version of that this year. But we're going to see how good this Chiefs defense is. We're going to see the secondary get tested. We're going to figure out who Mahomes actually trusts. And I can't wait to see. I was at a bachelor party this weekend, and one of the guys was complaining about Spags rotating guys. You know, and I don't like, you know, I don't want you to have the second or third string guy out there when a guy makes a good play. Like, let him play. And I'm kind of the opposite, where it's like, if a guy makes a play, that means the coach won. Like, I put the chess piece, checkmate. That's what I did. It doesn't mean that I now use that same move all the time. It's like, no, that's just one more confirmation of, okay, now he did well doing that. Where else can I deploy this piece at? Yeah. That's what I think this offense and defense this year are going to use way more of that. I think we're going to see a lot more pieces moving around on offense and defense. I'm not sure we have like number 2 wide receiver, number 2 cornerback. I think we have 3 or 4 of those that are like 2.5s at wide receiver and corner this year. And that's what I'm excited to see, how those guys are used.
Yeah, I mean, I think because of Spags, you know, just like I'm very much just like Justin Reed and Spags we trust. Um, I because we've never really shown that we've had an issue with Derrick Henry in the past. Um,
That
I'm not necessarily worried about coming in with. I very much think they're kind of going to shoot themselves in the foot backwards, just like they did in the AFC Championship. Whereas, you know, where they kind of went away from what they do best as far as running the ball in the AFC Championship. I think they try to run the ball so much in this game that it kind of hurts them to the point where they'll kind of realize that, oh shoot, we're down 14 points, 10 points, we're gonna have to start throwing the ball a little bit more. Therefore, our defense will know that, and it's going to kind of get them in trouble. That's what I think is going to happen. So now I think Derrick Henry would give a lot of NFL teams, just like you said, a freaking headache as far as trying to stop that dude. Just like a slow Derrick Henry for sure is still a faster Derrick Henry than probably what we have with Pop, but not every team is necessarily built to stop that dude. I feel like we're one of the few.
Pop is the slowest 4.3 in the NFL.
Oh yeah, sorry, that dude looks. He's like the fastest slowing or the slower looking fast. Yeah, I don't. You know, it's like he looks like he's not even running, but it looks like he's just more stomping than running whenever he does it. And
he's still going fast. Don't get me wrong.
He's still going. Yeah, it's just it's crazy. That dude.
Didn't mean to derail that, but when you threw that in, like, people are gonna look, Pop is a 4th. Like, yeah, I get it, dude, but how come he's never run away from anybody? Like 4 runaway runs in his career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Derrick Henry has 4 in a game.
Yeah,
right. Like, that's the difference. Right?
Yeah,
put it on tape. Let me see it.
So
I don't know. I don't necessarily disagree, but I think there are reasons why they did what they did in the game last year. And what I'm curious to see is, do they still say in this situation, this is the right decision to make? This is the right play to call. We just have got better people and our players understand what they should be doing more? Or are they going, okay, we've put a new answer in because we've built this thing with Derrick Henry now? I think it's going to be a blend of those two things. But
one of the things I think,
to your point, sorry, go ahead.
No, just one of the things that I think hurts Lamar is the fact that it bothers him. I feel still that people call him a running quarterback. I feel like he is set to determine that he can pass the ball. Therefore, he passes it when more times than he should. Because he still wants to, show people that he is a passing quarterback, not a running quarterback. But he needs to get it in his mind that whatever you can do best, bro, do that. If you are a running quarterback, bro, go into it, bro. Like, I feel like if he would lean more into being a running quarterback, that dude would be a lot more unstoppable. He would be Michael Vick-esque instead of trying to be Peyton Manning-esque.
See, I don't think your read on that is right. I just, from my perspective, what I see is,
that's just what I see.
Him, I don't really see that much variance in his game. I think he's always been a good passer. I think he's always looked to throw the ball, but he's always been completely willing to just go. And I think, more to your point, we've seen him make that decision less and less. I think part of that at the beginning was, he he didn't want to be the running quarterback. He wanted to show that he could. I think last year, in my opinion, proved out he can be like he's more than good at throwing the football. But hearing him this offseason lose 10, 15 pounds because he said he felt too big, like that's more of what I read on last year is he wasn't comfortable in his own body. He didn't like the way that he felt when he was running and cutting and bursting. So it was much more like, I don't think he decided I'm going to throw it more. I think it was more, I'm not comfortable running it here. There was much more indecision for when to go. And I think I'm not sure that losing weight is the right decision for him. I think that's the answer he's hoping fits the question, which is why don't I feel the same way or as confident or whatever that, you know what I mean? But that's kind of more of how I feel about it. Yeah. I think his up here, to your point, like you're a running quarterback. I don't know if it manifests that way, but I definitely think the reason that they haven't really pushed through the ceiling isn't a crazy lack of talent. I think it is more like the mental side where when you compete at that level, it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably an issue or a topic that we probably don't necessarily agree with. I wouldn't say he is necessarily a good throwing quarterback. I don't think he's very accurate at all, and he tries to prove people that he is too much when he should just kind of just take off and run instead of trying to fit it in the pocket that he doesn't a lot of times do.
I think we both agree that he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. How he gets there and how we'd like to see him be better, I think is where we don't quite see eye to eye. But
yeah, I mean, I think
the combination of Lamar and Derek is something that we're both interested in seeing.
Yeah, well, we'll see in 2 days, baby.
Yeah. So we'll kind of wrap up with the last few things we've got here, right? So Green Bay versus Philadelphia in Brazil. The teams I feel like have kind of figured out how to play in Europe at this point. We haven't seen quite the great games that we've been able to produce in the States outside, but we've had some fun games. Week 1 in Brazil, I have no idea what to expect. I think it's going to most likely either end up as like a 14-10 game, or it's going to be like a 38-44. Both quarterbacks just hit heaters. Both offenses just roll, and defense, they're not quite put together. And, it's like 4 or 5 blown coverages, and we got ourselves a ball game in Brazil. I don't really know what I'm expecting in this, but I'm expecting it to be fun. I'm hoping that, I'm excited to see the new coaching staff and what the Philadelphia defense looks like, how the offense actually plays, what Saquon looks like in Philadelphia. Black, I guess they're wearing black.
They're going to do the black. See, yeah. I mean, it's
a first time thing.
Yeah, no, it's just, Philadelphia versus Green Bay, two teams that you heard us all throughout the podcast. Obviously, we all have questions about Green Bay. Well, I do. Certain people are not certain.
Have questions about them. It's just we're asking how good they can be. You're asking, are they good?
Are they good? And I feel like everybody's got questions about Philly. So are they? So that's just a huge question. Like, game. Everybody is excited to see what's going to happen with that, and the fact that it's in Brazil, it's going to be even more because more interesting, I guess, just because
I think those crowds are going to really. I think those crowds have the potential.
It's already sold out. Like, it's sold out. Like,
that's what I mean. Like, really hype. Like, that's why I think like we could see a real high scoring, because like guys might just be like, "What is this energy?"
Yeah,
Like,
and you already
this
know
is
whenever players or teams are in a different environment like that, they always try to do something a little bit different, you know. So
mhm.
I'm
guys
wondering
are
what that
guys are
little bit
gonna
different
try
is
and
going to
show
be.
out without realizing they're trying to show out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we see, you know, Saquon Barkley throw a touchdown pass. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Bro, how crazy would that be?
Dude, that would be wild.
So we kind of talked about the division earlier, but I am really excited to see the highlights and check in, on the on Sunday Ticket on the Red Zone channel to
Mm-hmm.
see Chargers, Raiders. Just what do they look? What sort of identities do they start to put together? Is there actually competent quarterback play in Vegas? Uh, that is one of the situations to me to really pay attention to is
Yeah, no, I
if
mean, there's just
if
so much
Devontae
to pay
isn't
attention
isn't
to.
comfortable, could you see like how crazy would an in-season trade be
Like
where
right off the bat, like right now, or what do
no
you mean?
I'm saying let's say like week 6, week 7, San Francisco gets a phone call and they're
Brandon
going,
Ayuk.
Devontae is going to murder somebody if we don't get him out of here to a good team. Give us Brandon, and we'll give you Devontae and a 1 and a 1, or Devontae and a 2 and a 2.
I
I
think it's
just
more
that
likely
though.
because of what I've been hearing. It's more likely that the Jets trade for Devontae because they've been actively trying to get Aaron Rodgers more targets. So,
I mean,
and you already know they're boys. They're
I wonder what you would be able to squeeze out of a Devontae Adams trade this
yeah,
season.
especially coming. Well, now he doesn't have the highest contract, but he's still got a pretty good contract up there. So it would take. I feel like it would
I
still take a
wonder
lot.
I wonder what his cap numbers look like after a trade.
Yeah, we would have to look that up. That's a
Mhm.
that's a in thought.
Well, I'm excited to see Harbaugh. I'm excited to watch that offense work.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see what it looks like with like Justin. Whatever they do, Justin Herbert's going to operate at an extremely, extremely high level. So I don't know what I expect from him stat wise. I have no idea,
just
but
I mean,
I think he's going to be like insanely efficient. However many times they ask him to throw the ball, he's going to complete it a whole lot, and they're going to be for good plays and lots of yards and touchdowns. It's just he might only get 17 of those a game.
yeah, I think the one thing besides the Chiefs that I'm most excited to watch out for is it's probably the rookies. Caleb, Daniels, and Harris. I feel like those three are probably my top three rookies to look at. Just they're going to be, to me, they're very intriguing and exciting to watch. So I'm very excited to see what they do week 1.
For me, I'm very excited to watch those rookies. But one like the second year guys who are moving into more roles from like just kind of across the league. I'm really interested in watching like year 2, year 3 guys and seeing how those roles are starting to develop. I'm also just really excited for all the lies that we're going to see in week 1.
And see, dude, that's
You
one
know,
thing that we number week
Sammy
one's an
Watkins 4 touchdowns week 1 a few
week
years
one's
ago.
an
It's like
outlier. Exactly, week 1 is a liar. So that's one thing that I very much know. So I'm excited to see how
the
many
cake is a
people.
lie.
Yep. Who's gonna lie to us the most in week 1?
Mm-hmm.
Because you already
Yeah,
know.
no. The CJ versus Anthony Richardson, year 2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like just the start of that rivalry officially really I feel like even though they were both in the league last year, like it just feels different for both of those teams heading into this year.
Yep, for sure.
Discount double check on Monday night. does he? I hope he brings the belt back at some point. That was one of the greatest celebrations
It
ever.
was. Or
And it
BJ
feels like,
Raji's.
yeah, it feels like that the general populace would be accepting of that at this point, especially if he has a good week one. But what a test. Jets versus Niners.
Bro.
I can't wait to see what these teams look like. I know I just made the joke about the Brandon Ayuk trade, but he just signed, so like that he's gonna ball out this year. I just do we see is there finally a hangover for this team? Will Kyle Shanahan let his team have a hangover? I think he's insane enough to just not let them
hear me
have
out.
any slip off.
That's another team that I feel like it's not going to be very good. I feel like Brock Purdy is. Teams are starting to figure Brock Purdy out.
I don't know, man.
That's another day. That's another conversation for another day. We can table that one for now too.
Yeah, yeah. So, week one, I can't wait. Chiefs over Ravens.
Yeah.
Probably by a tutty.
Yeah. What's your prediction for week one? A score for Thursday's game.
Oh. 27-17, 27-21, something like that.
Okay.
Could push as close to like 27-24, but I think the Chiefs win. Are we going to do the Survivor League?
The Survivor League, yeah. We can do the Survivor League. Might as well. Well, I think real quick, the score for me that I think is going to be on Thursday, I think it's going to be like a 35-17-ish game. I think we win pretty large margin there.
Yeah.
But yeah, real quick, before if people don't know, Nate and I did a Survivor League last year. It didn't last very long.
I didn't last very long last year.
Yeah, not a lot of people lasted very long. I think it was like week 3, everybody dropped out. But we're gonna do it again this year. We've already done our picks, so we already know which ones they are. But Nate, you want to go ahead and start it off? Tell the people what your pick is.
Yeah, but I'm kind of waffling.
Oh, is he gonna change it? Is he gonna change it?
I think I'm gonna stick with it, but I'm not very confident in it.
All right, well, here it is.
But
I'll give him my pick, and then I'll talk about it a little bit, and then by that time, if you feel like you're confident enough to say it or you have changed it, then
I'm gonna stick with it because I just feel I don't know. I just feel like, well, I think maybe
can't think about it too much. You can't think.
Well, I think I'm going to go with Vegas. I'll go with Vegas over the Chargers.
Vegas over.
I don't know why. I kind of like the vibes that the Raiders have, and I think they have the potential to like look really good in week one and then fall apart really quickly after that. But I think they could. Like, there's so much unknown going into week one of a season that I feel like they just find a way to struggle to a victory. But yeah, I don't care if I lose this, because if I go out on a pick like this, it's fun anyways.
Dude, coming on week one. Okay, whatever. Clearly, I mean, he is going.
Well, I don't want to burn. I don't want to burn
one.
one of the like Cowboys versus Browns at Browns. That doesn't feel like real confident to me.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I looked at the schedule.
All right, I'll take a more confident one. I'll take Bucks over Commanders.
You're doing Bucks over the Commanders?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Tampa Bay over Washington.
So you're switching it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel pretty
confident. I feel like that's a safer pick than Vegas over LA.
Yeah. All right. Well, I forget who they're playing, but I'm going with San Francisco.
San Francisco plays New York. That's what we were just talking about.
Yeah,
Jets versus Niners.
but they play. This is the Jets, or they're playing the Giants.
Jets.
Okay. Then hold on, let me look. I gotta see now. I gotta look at the schedule. Yeah, you know what?
That's why I'm saying I'm going Bucks as my survivor. I think they're the most likely.
Okay.
Because once you pick a team, you don't get to use it again.
Oh, I know.
I don't want to burn my good teams.
Yeah.
For anybody who's
no,
watching and is going, why are they talking about this so in depth and thinking about it? Because we only get to pick a team one time throughout the season. You're trying to survive as long as you can, continuously picking a winner. So I don't want to pick a team that I'm super confident about that's good and burn them. So I'm trying to pick a team that I don't really think is that good that has a good chance at winning, which is why I was going to use the Vegas to start the season.
No, trust me. Yeah. So
he got.
All right, I'm gonna go with Bengals over Patriots.
Bengals over the Patriots.
Yep.
Lock that in.
Yep.
All right.
So,
well,
both of us changed our pick.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking with us.
Yep.
That was another fun one. We're gonna get this one up quickly, and we're gonna get back after week 1. We'll probably pick out our favorite performances and just highlight some of the things that we think are going to be true and some of the lies that we saw in week 1. On that note, thank you much. Like, subscribe, tell your friends.
Yes. Like and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Remember, do something.